The Pontiac GTO is widely regarded as one of the most iconic muscle cars to ever grace the American automotive scene. Introduced in 1964, the GTO wasn't the first muscle car, but it was the vehicle that truly defined the genre and set the stage for what would become an era of high-performance, street-dominating machines. Born out of the growing demand for powerful, affordable cars that could be driven on the street and at the track, the GTO's influence on the automotive world cannot be overstated. It blended performance, style, and affordability in a way that had never been seen before, and it paved the way for a whole new generation of muscle cars. The story of the GTO begins with the development of the Pontiac Tempest, a compact car produced by General Motors. In 1964, Pontiac's chief engineer, John DeLorean, and his team saw an opportunity to create a performance variant of the Tempest that could compete with the more powerful offerings from Ford and Chrysler. They decided to take the Tempest's body, add a bigger, more powerful engine, and turn it into a performance machine. This would become the first Pontiac GTO. The name GTO was derived from the Italian Gran Turismo Omologato, which roughly translates to Grand Touring Homologated. This was a nod to the high-performance cars built for European racing, and the GTO was designed with that spirit in mind. However, Pontiac made sure that it was a car the average American could afford and enjoy. At its core, the 1964 GTO featured a 389 cubic-inch V8 engine, which was capable of producing 325 horsepower, a staggering amount for a car in its price range. With this engine under the hood, the GTO could accelerate from 0 to 60 mph in just over 6 seconds, a feat that put it on par with some of the most exotic and expensive cars of the time. What made the GTO stand out, however, was not just its performance, but also its styling. While the Tempest was a relatively standard-looking compact car, the GTO received a number of distinctive features that set it apart from the rest of the Pontiac lineup. These included a more aggressive front grille, functional hood scoops, wider tires, and a set of stylish racing stripes. The GTO's muscular stance and sleek lines made it look every bit as fast as it was, and it quickly captured the imagination of American car enthusiasts. The GTO's success was almost immediate. In its first year on the market, it sold over 32,000 units, a number that far exceeded Pontiac's expectations. The GTO became an instant hit, with young drivers looking for a performance car that was both fast and affordable. Its popularity would only continue to grow in the following years, as Pontiac introduced various upgrades and options, including a tri-power carburetor system that boosted horsepower to 300 48, making the GTO even more powerful and more sought after. The mid-1960s were a golden age for muscle cars, and the GTO was at the forefront of the movement. The 1965 model year saw the introduction of a restyled GTO with a new front end, including a cleaner grille and a more refined look overall. Pontiac also introduced the famous Judge model in 1969, a special edition of the GTO that featured bold graphics, a rear spoiler, and a more aggressive attitude. The Judge was powered by a 400 cubic-inch V8 engine that produced 366 horsepower, and it quickly became one of the most recognizable versions of the GTO, further cementing the car's reputation as a symbol of American muscle. However, as the 1970s rolled in, the muscle car era began to face challenges. Insurance premiums for high-performance vehicles were rising, and stricter emissions and safety regulations were being implemented. These factors, along with a shift in consumer tastes, led to a decline in the popularity of muscle cars. In 1974, the Pontiac GTO was discontinued, marking the end of an era. The once revolutionary car had seen its final days in the spotlight, but its legacy would live on in the hearts and minds of automotive enthusiasts. For decades after its discontinuation, the GTO remained a symbol of the golden age of American muscle. Enthusiasts continued to restore and modify GTOs, keeping the car's legacy alive. In the early 2000s, Pontiac decided to revive the GTO nameplate, this time with an entirely new car. The 2004 Pontiac GTO was a far cry from its classic predecessor, but it carried the same spirit of performance that had made the original GTO so beloved. The new GTO was based on the Holden Monaro, an Australian muscle car, and featured a 5.7-liter V8 engine that produced 350 horsepower. While the new GTO had the performance to back up its name, it lacked some of the emotional connection and distinctive styling that had made the original GTO so special. The revival of the GTO was met with mixed reviews, and the model was discontinued after just a few years. Despite the mixed reception of the modern GTO, the original Pontiac GTO remains a benchmark for American performance.